Has the Third World War already started? This headline casually says. U.S. imperialism and its allies deny it, but their actions do not match up with those denials. The Biden administration says it is for peace and wants to avoid escalation of the many wars in which it is involved. Nevertheless, it continues with its close European allies to bomb Yemen, shield Israel from the consequences of its aggression, and struggles to keep the war in Ukraine bubbling along. It reminds one of the robber during his getaway shouting, "Stop, thief!" The aggressors who back Israel's genocidal policies don't want to be seen, however, as owning their deadly work. The world order of Biden and the leaders of the UK and France depends on military force for its very survival. At the same time, however, if that force is used too heavily, the imperialist system they prop up could rapidly begin to collapse. In the U.S., the dilemma is faced by leaders of both political parties. Republican Speaker Mike Johnson said Thursday morning that lawmakers have a duty to provide the $60 billion in arms that Biden has requested for Ukraine if the U.S. is to preserve its position as the world's indispensable nation. Democratic Senator Chris Coons of Delaware echoed that position by saying provisions of that military aid for Ukraine and the defeat of Vladimir Putin of Russia is a necessity if the U.S. is to remain the strongest nation on earth. So they don't want a third world war, but seem to be willing to risk one in order to preserve the top dog position of the U.S. A recent article in the Financial Times put their dilemma this way. The Washington Consensus, which expected emerging nations to fall in line with free market rules written by the West, and post-war Pax Americana are over. So they reach more and more for the guns. It's not to the benefit of the fight for democracy or the working classes of the world, of course, but rather to hold on to power they see slipping away. Imperialist and U.S. hegemony in the Middle East has become unhinged, and a regional war has moved from possibility to likelihood following Israel's attack on the Iranian consulate in Damascus and the inevitable Iranian response. The article goes on to say, yet the U.S. and its closest European allies above all are invested in preserving the present world order from which their banks and businesses profit so mightily. They have no plan B, no more than the German Kaiser and the Tsar did in Europe in 1914. Determined to keep Russia diminished, the Biden administration has kept the Ukraine war going when peace is at least possible. U.S. support for continuing Israeli supremacy in the Middle East is behind the devastation and suffering spread by the multiple wars launched across the region this century and is key to the genocide in Gaza presently being greenlit by Washington. Much of that dirty deed has already been done. Gaza is almost completely destroyed, and a majority of the population left alive is starving. And now there is the economic and political rise of China, which the G7 elite really do not know what to do about at all. The danger is that when they come to a solution, it will involve bombers and warships. They are already building up those weapons in the area and ramping up war talk about defending Taiwan from China. It does not matter to them that Taiwan itself is a part of China. The latter and Russia are at least to some extent diplomatically and militarily connected, offering mutual support and standing up to the pressure from the United States. Demands to end the war policy must be put forward by the peace movement, the labor movement, and all their allies. The U.S. has no business bombing Yemen, arming and defending Israel's genocidal policies, working to prolong the Ukraine-Russia conflict, or sailing aircraft carriers and nuclear submarines all around the Asia-Pacific region. Those policies must all be fought because they hurt working people and increase the danger of World War III developing. The article ends, the big problem faced by the people of the world is not Iran, nor Russia, nor China. It is the imperialist powers that will stop at nothing to support more and more war overseas as a part of its intensification of exploitation of the majority in their home countries. The growing peace movement gives hope that we can stop them in their tracks. You can find and read this article in its entirety for yourself by following People's World on Twitter at People's World. Daily news beholden to working people, not corporate interests. Analysis with class. We take sides. Yours. You can find them also peoplesworld.org. Solidarity, comrades.